Welcome to the Izzy Chinche Show.
Every question that I ask you is not just a question that comes in my head. It's literally research backed. And the program that I lead my clients through is something that is used by the highest performing individuals in the world.
I'm so excited you're able to tune in. Join me as I interview athletes, entrepreneurs, and high achievers. I also share much about my life struggles, trials, and successes in hopes to inspire you. I intend for this show to be one of the greatest shows of all time, so your listening and support means the most to me. My goal is to help inspire as many people as possible, so please share with a friend if you enjoy just one thing from today's episode. Together, we can help more people grow. Let's get started. Yeah, tell me about what initially made you decide to coach in that specific space. What was okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna coach this.
Yeah. And I think that was at first I was actually driven more towards executives, right? And the reason behind that was because I faced a lot of uncalled for, and I would say sometimes even unfair challenges with my own leaders in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, sought people who I felt like they would totally hop on the bandwagon, wanted to grow as leaders. And someone in passing just mentioned, hey, Ambreen, leaders don't have to develop. And I was like, and the first reaction was like, what? You're a leader, right? But then I had this mind-blowing aha experience where I was like, yeah, if you're already at a VP level and you haven't really developed yourself as a human, you don't have to do it, right? You've already gotten into a pretty big bracket. And so I was like, wow, there are people who are in severe need of leadership skills. Something as simple as they don't even have a vision or clarity on what the priorities are or how to treat a team without sounding arrogant. And the beautiful thing is the underlying theme was all of these were reflections of themselves that they couldn't really dissect in because they weren't really doing the work to dig in deeper.
Yeah.
And so once I heard that, I was like, oh, right. But for me, I look at leadership as not, I think somebody who is an average Joe can be a leader.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to have a leadership status to be a leader. And so when I actually became a coach, I even more full throttle kind of went into this mindset of be a coach, but be a leader, or be exemplary in what you do. And I've always, I think this is my mom's teaching, is always role modeled the behavior, that I want, which is excellence driven and character forward. So once I heard that, and then I started to it was just kind of I would say the universe's way of talking to me. My kids started talking about things that were I was like, wait, you too? They talk about anxiety. I'm like, wait, my kids have anxiety? What? And then I recognized and realized, of course, I'm not in their minds. I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't grow up with media. We didn't grow up with comparison. We didn't grow up where the world is so close to us. We grew up in our own town, in our own secluded, community. We had selected people that we were friends with. And the world that we live in now it's kind of really bizarre when I think about it. It's connected, but it's not united.
Yeah. Wow. That was a great way to put that. Wow. Yes. Connected, but not united. I like that.
Yeah. You don't even know who your neighbor down the street is who goes to your school.
So true.
And because you don't take a pause to talk, or the kids don't play outside anymore like before back in the day. And so my kids started to drop these things, and I kept getting these messages of challenges that they're having.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was a breakthrough to say, Ambreen, you say that your family, after the Hyatt, my creator, my family is the most important thing to me, right, in this world. So if that's the most important, if that's your purpose, because I actually have this fun word, I call myself ex-mom, which is a superhero mother. I'm like, you're a superhero for everything in the world. It's a superhero for lightning and thunder, power. I'm like, what about the mamas, right? The mamas are the superheroes of this world.
Yeah.
And what I started to realize was this point of your parents are the number one leaders, the first leaders that you have in the womb, not even when you come out.
Wow.
That kid is soaking in all the energy, all the conversations, all the love, all the nutrients before they even set forth on this earth.
Yeah. Wow.
And if parents don't lead, we see the turmoil that we do now. Forget the divorce rate being high. Depression is on a high. right? Like I think it's like gone up like 500% in the past 22 decades. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, can we measure it more now? Yes. But
Yeah.
what is it that we have every single thing that we have, a man needs or a woman needs or a person needs, yet we're still not in gratitude for the life that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
so much of our life for granted. You know, we sit in like I my kids and I have this fun rule like if you can't control it, you can't complain about it.
I love
Right.
that.
So
I love that.
I'm like, Mom, it's so hot. I'm like, can you change that temperature? Like, can you? Like,
Yeah.
no. And I'm like, okay, well then I guess then that's it, right? Like there's no further conversation than just that it's
I
hot.
say something very similar to kids that I coach. Like, if you can't fix it, don't fixate on it. Same thing.
Yes.
Attention off. Like, we can't change it. Doesn't matter. I love
Let it go, right? Oh yeah. And then so it started to sit well and kind of journaled on me a little bit. And I found out that my target audience are family members.
that.
And I haven't heard it being done yet. I have not seen anyone do it. I've seen therapies, like family therapy, you see, but I haven't seen family coaching. So the model that I have is, and the kind of the purpose behind what I'm doing, which my company is called Tawakkal Coaching.
What was
And
that?
Tawakkal is a tawakkal.
Welcome. Okay.
Yeah, and Tawakkal basically means having faith in something greater,
Hmm.
right? And so the objective and like the energy that I want people to go on is this necessity to say, I have greatness within me
Mhm.
that I need to unleash. My kids have their own greatness that they need to unleash. And then, like my community, this earth, this world, everyone, all the residents of this place, there's something far greater that we have to offer ourselves and then like shine that light onto other people. So
Yes.
kind of tying back to purpose, like having this faith of greatness, it's just I want to work with families to unite, to create a meaningful bond around growth, acceptance, and shared values while engaging deeply to connect through respect, fun, and joy to influence one another,
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot, but I totally feel like I really had to like sit down and kind of redo it a few times. And I
Yeah.
understood that if you don't accept your families as they are, if your kid's having a down day and you're expecting them to shine through that day and they're like, my, I just can't do it today. Like I got a D on my test and I studied for it, right? And they're on a low, then as parents, as caregivers, as the unit that they have that's been given to them, it's our job to make sure that we hear that and we respect it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you said I didn't get your whole mission statement, but to bring fun. You said you highlighted fun. And
Oh yeah,
I
yes.
seriously love that because I read the book The Fun Habit a couple months ago. Have you read that book?
I have not, but I'll add it to my radar.
It is such a good book. I read it with my dad. My dad and I will like read books at the same time together and like compare notes. It's awesome. And he's a big believer in like having fun, having things you gotta look forward to. And then like this was like a book, literally how to prioritize fun in your life, like how to make your life fun. And I love that you said it because it makes it so much more like I have to have things that I look forward to daily so that I can have fun in my
Mhm.
life and enjoy what I'm doing. So I love that you said that. You tied that in, having fun.
Yeah. And I think that's like the one thing that adults are missing in their life,
I think that's
right? Like,
yeah.
so my sister is getting married right now, which is the henna on my hands. And so the festivities have begun. And like all the cousins are getting together. And like on Saturday we had like we had an actual celebration. So everyone's partying and dancing. And I see my nephews and my nieces, right? And even my own kids. And they're just like the steps aren't perfect. They're not in sync. They're just doing their own thing, even though they've choreographed this dance. But at the end of the day, I kept reminding them, this is a have fun. And you see these emotions and this burst of like genuine joy that comes from it, right?
Uh,
Like, you like, and you're like, wow, like they just went with it, right? And I think when we grow up, we forget the essence of this life. If you can't enjoy it, then
yeah.
what good is it? Like I wouldn't know any other way of doing it, hopefully.
Yes, I love that. So what does the model then kind of look like taking through families? Like what is the first even
Yeah.
step into like creating that within a family? Yeah.
Definitely. So what I've started to do is I started to actually go live on Fridays, 11 a.m. Central Time
I'll
on
have to join.
Zoom. And it's, yeah, so it's like, it's literally free coaching. And the intentionality behind that is I don't only want to serve clients, right? I want to serve everyone. I want to serve every family member, and that could be a sister or a brother or a mom or a dad or, a kid. It doesn't really matter. And I think we don't really have people in the world right now who are very family focused when it comes to looking forward, right? So people want to focus on the problems now. But if you don't know where you want to go, there's no excitement like we talked about, right? Like I always plan something because I want to have some, I'm looking forward to that one thing in the day, in the week, in the month, or whatever it is. And so I started to do that, and it kind of just began that earlier this month. And the intentionality behind the program itself is I want to coach a full family.
Uh-huh.
And the intentionality is that there are two specific programs. There's one that's 3 months long, and then there's one that's 6 months long. So the 3 months long program is when we talk about kind of take the family on a journey of high performance habits. And these are habits that every single high performer in the world, they just exhibited in a research study that was done across like 300 plus highest performers in the world, right? And it's bizarre to me to think that in the research study, there were these 6 habits that they just kept circling, right? And so Brendan Bouchard, who kind of led the study, found out that there is this sense of seeking clarity. So you know what you want, right? You know the vision for your family, right? And for the vision of your family, if you don't want fun, and if you want people to be disciplined, then that. If you guys want it to be athletic, then that's that, right? If you want to be healthy, then that's that. Whatever that vision is, whatever you're trailing towards, the first habit, seeking clarity. The second one is this concept of generating energy. And this is my favorite. It's very much tied in with my existence, this concept of energy. And that's this mindset of you get to choose how you show up. Okay. You can't blame, the traffic for coming home tired, because you could literally just take a 10-second pause before getting into the house and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna bounce here like 10 times and be like, okay, I got this. I'm going into my family, the people who I am responsible for, the people who I influence and they influence me back. So if I give them like boring crap energy, guess what I'm getting back, right? And so the third point is having this raising necessity. So even knowing why you want to do something, like why do we all just want to be healthy? Why? Like what?
Yeah.
Is it like a
Why are
buzzword
we
or
doing what we're doing? Yeah.
and so that I think puts such a different perspective and importance to what it is that we want to do. The fourth one is that you want to be able to increase productivity, right? And that's just basically, I would say time management before, but now someone said in a really beautiful, I was like, yeah, it's life management, like managing your life.
I love that because my best friend and I talk a lot about like different, like the way that we just meal prep and the way that we do things and stuff. And I was like, yeah, it really is life things though. If I'm not like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if my room isn't clean and my stuff isn't in order and I haven't meal prep, the rest of my week is kind of like, ugh, and it's like, it's life
Yeah.
management. I love that, but I have to get in order to make that happen. I love that.
Exactly, and when you say like I used to be somebody who looked at productivity as like a check mark of a list of things and a task that I delivered on.
Yeah.
But now I've like productivity could I just want to do nothing for an hour and just sit there and read my book. Like, and I want to take some nuggets from it and I want to really sit down and journal on it and I want to reflect on it or see how I can apply that, whatever it is, right? So I think shifting this mindset to say life management, because the book will give back so much to me, like you talked about, the book that you read with your dad and how you guys bonded over that. It's that's productive, right?
Yeah.
And then the last two are kind of this concept of developing influence. So that tying back into this role model mindset, being fully aware of how and what you're saying, and the way that it comes across. And that's influence. And influence is something as simple as like you and I literally, that was such an influential, simple, we were just like smiling, laughing, talking, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it was such an influential conversation that we had. And the last one, I think, which is the most important, is like this ability to demonstrate courage.
Mm.
And the courage could be for a family that they lost someone,
Mm.
right? You lose someone in your family that means someone to you, or you even lose a pet, and that is a part of your family, of course, right? And like having the courage to say, you know what, this is a tough time, and we don't really want interference from other people.
Yeah.
So for us, the boundary at this moment, we just need some time for our own self to be in solitude and actually to grieve. And I think people, the world that we live in now, we're so big on people pleasing, and not saying no to the things that are not serving us. And so I think that's the whole point. And so that's the 3 month journey. And what I'll do in that journey is I'll take the whole, family through these high performance habits. But the way that I've become understood to be most effective is I want to break every single habit down to 2 sessions. And the way the 2 sessions work is there will be full family coaching. And then in the sessions itself, I will be coaching every single person alone. So it'll be full family, talking about the actual topic of discussion, and then taking a deeper dive into every single family member. While I'm doing that, the other members are going to have a breakout room. And they're going to have prompts and they're talking through, right? So if it's dad and kiddo, and they don't really like each other anymore because he's like 14, like my dad doesn't even get me. He knows what's my name and where I live, and that's it. Yeah. Then now you're forced to do nothing for that allotted time but to talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course switching it up, right? And then the last bit here, which I think is the profounding change, that'll be prompt journal entries. So you will be forced to sit down in that time and write. And then kind of coming back, and sharing what our aha moments were, what we loved, or trying to find courage to say that, I wrote this, that I told Maya I needed some time to myself. And 20 minutes later, she barges into my room and says, dinner's ready. I didn't really like that because I think that was disrespectful. Yeah. And so my intention is to open up this glorious yet respectful way of communicating with each member, right? And that could be between siblings, like, hey, you know what? Like you were mad at something else and you called me an idiot. That's not okay, right? Yeah. And what I want to do is I want to start to kind of find the themes in those one-on-one sessions, right? The private sessions with each member, and kind of bring that in the follow-up session to work on those alongside with the findings that we have. So it gives us a deep dive of the actual performance habit. But the second session is so much more digging and doing the work. So that'll happen for 3 months. And the 6 month program is kind of taking them on a mastery program of these high performance habits, which is specifically the psychology and the physiology mastery, the influence and the persuasion. And that, I think, journey, 6 months down the line, the family is going to be rock solid. And of course, then I have another program built out, which will take them through a 1 year whole program. And that's more based on the charge habits, things, 10 human drives that actually make us feel alive and vibrant and make us feel like there's a reason why we're here, instead of just like kind of waking up every day and going back to sleep in the evening time. So
that is so cool. I love that. Like and you explained that so well. Like I was like hang on the edge of my seat. I love that. I literally am already thinking about like my family. I'm like, how would that work? Because I'm like, there's so many. I was like, oh my gosh. But I've just started to realize, I think, especially in this past year, just like things that I've been feeding into in my family that I'm like, no, this isn't healthy. Like something I've been talking about recently is like taking sides on things. And that's something I really tried to cut out because I'm like, this isn't like, it's just toxic. It's a mess. Anytime someone takes a side on someone, it's just like, well, we're just creating division. And that's like, I love my family, like get coached on that. Like, and I've literally thought about, man, who would be even begin to be qualified to take on my family, you know what I mean? Because I do have so many siblings. I love talking about like someone like you that's like all these things, but it's like, I mean, half of my siblings are adults too, but it's like there's still stuff that like needs to be worked on and stuff. So I love hearing about that. That's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's this point of you can never stop working on yourself, regardless of your age, right? Your parents are adult. You're an adult. That doesn't mean that you define courage the same way. And it's so I will pause and stop and ask family members like, hey, how would you define courage? And you start to hear different viewpoints. And if you actually sit down and take notice, you'll start to see how in their own life that value of courage is something that they actually do. But when you look at it from your perspective, you're like, my sister isn't really courageous. She's just...
I really like that.
So yeah, there's a shift, right? And I think you're never gonna go to your mom and say, "Hey, mom, define influence," right? It's like that's so like, okay, Izzy, at
Yeah.
this age in life, you want to know what that is, you know?
Yeah.
But in these coaching sessions, because they are so hands-on and because they're research, every question that I ask you, it's not just a question that comes in my head.
Yeah.
It's literally research backed. And the program that I lead my clients through is something that is used by the highest performing
Yeah.
individuals in the world, like the Fortune 50 CEOs, the billionaires. And I am running the exact same program, you know? And I think that is where the value is because it's not loosey goosey life coaching. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very like performance and family driven coaching. So,
Yeah. That's really cool. So did you then, I mean, I assume and like just talking to you, you practice what you
yeah.
preach, but then how do you implement that with your own family? Like, do you guys have meetings and you go over this, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so for my family, my sister, it's one thing to ask that my daughter just told me the other day, I want to say last week, it was our time. So what I'll do, same simple things, right? Like I'll have once a week, one-on-one time with every one of my kiddo.
Mhm.
And I realized that they're all striving for attention at the same times. And I can't give them undivided attention when they're all at it together.
Mhm.
So what I started to do was I started to practice this one-on-one time and they look forward to it. And I say, hey, you have to come up with something because if you don't, then I will. So I was talking to my daughter and I had to take her like shopping, you know, because like now like the season's changing and she's the only girl, like she's the eldest girl. And so we have to go and shop for her. And then we give the hand-me-downs for the other cousins. And so it's so cute. And so her and I are shopping. And she's like, Mom, like, this is a lot of money. This is a lot of money. I was like, it's totally fine, right? And she's like, I have to do something for you. Can I do something for you? I was like, no, no, you were totally fine. She's like, Mom, you have to make me feel better. I have to let. And the beautiful thing is, she's like, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for this? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, do you want to go for ice cream? And I was like, I'm really not an ice cream person, but I have been craving the specific shop's ice cream for only 3.5 months, telling myself I'm going there alone to do this for me. It hasn't happened. And she's like, oh, let's take you there. And so I was like, I'm not saying no. God.
I love
And
it.
so over there, I'm talking to her, and I said, what's the toughest part about being my daughter? And she
Wow.
said, yeah. And she's like, you're like a coach mom. And I said, okay, what does that, what does that mean? Right. And so she's like, it's like, I don't know, like you're very, like, conversations, I guess, are very coachy. And then I said to her, but I became a coach last year. Was I not like that last year? Because my mom has already pushed us to be very excellence driven. And like we strive, like, and the excellence bar is not like it's like you can't even see it, right? It's so high up. And so she said, I know. I was like, I mean, so what do you want from me? She was, I just want to be a normal mom. And I said, define a normal mom for me. I don't know what like I don't know what a normal mom is, you know? So coming back to what the question that you asked is like, how do I do this? I do. I sit there and I do the work. Every single month we have a challenge that we all take on.
Yeah.
And then every single kid has their own challenge that they're working on, right? So if one of them is he needs to eat more, right? He needs to eat healthier because that's you need to hydrate a little bit more, and that's their challenge. And then at the end of the month, we kind of come back and grade ourselves on our challenge and how we did. The
How did
other
the
thing
rest of
that
that conversation go with her though at ice cream?
and so the thing is like I'm like, okay, well, I need you to really figure out, define for me what a normal mom is. It's like I don't know. And then I'm like, well, of course that makes sense. You only had me as your mom.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know what a normal mom is, but I have been kind of asking her. I asked her yesterday too. I was like, you still have to define for me what a normal mom is because that's what you need from me.
Yeah.
So let me know what that is. And she hasn't been able to articulate it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think some of it is because she doesn't want to offend me.
Mm.
And even though I tell them that anything you say to me is only going to make me better, I won't take offense to it. I think as kids, they don't want to hurt us, right? Intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I will let you know the answer once I have it. But I do, I am, but well, I gotta be more of a mom. My kids have full authority to correct me anytime.
Well, that, I mean,
And
just the fact that so you said, what's the hardest thing for you about me being your mom? That's what you asked.
yeah, what's the biggest challenge being my daughter, right? Like as yeah, you know.
That is
And so she
such a humble thing to ask and to like, I really admire that. Like that's so great. Like that's definitely something I want to implement. Like, what's the challenge for you? Like, wow,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And just like the humility to ask your your daughter that. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I think as parents, that's what I'm talking about, this element of respect, right? Like I have to respect who they want me to be as well. Because I'm not only a coach, I'm not only a speaker, I'm not only a writer. I am like the center of my life, like we started off this dialogue, is like being ex-mom, being a mother who is such a rock star, whose kids are her best friends, right? Not because you're forced, but because you have genuine acceptance and the sense of
Yeah.
respect and correction and joy and like this, oh my God, my heart's doing stuff, like this essence of like the strongest bond in the world,
Wow.
I think should be between families.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing stronger than that. Not because it's blood, but
Yeah.
because I truly believe that you were put into that family for a reason,
Yeah. Me too. I love that.
you know? And so my daughter will tell me, I think this, she's the one who takes a little bit of time to process and then she comes through with an answer. And so she'll, I mean, I'm sure she'll let me know what that is, And I've been told, like, just write it down if you want to tell me. Or just write down what a normal mom is. Or what more do you need from me? And I think that should hopefully help me become normal mom.
I love that. I mean, but also, that's so cool though, that like you are such a high achiever. You are going for so much that she's like, it's like, keep me a little more chill. Almost, you're like,
Yeah.
it's my DNA to strive for greatness. I love that.
And the thing is, like my eldest, Dawood will he's like the chill, like gonna
Mm.
do what I gotta do. I'm not gonna go above and beyond it. So for him, he'll always say to me, "Yo, ma, chill, chill, chill." I'm just like, okay, got it, feedback. I'll take it. And in that exact moment, I feel like I have to snap out of it because
Wow.
for him, my energy is like it's so bursty, right?
Wow.
But he's more mellow.
Yeah.
So with every single kid, the interaction is different because of what they need, right? From my relationship with them.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so someone that he's like, Ma, let's chill out.
Yeah.
Yo, chill out. And you see it, you're like, okay, chill mode on. And then you go into it differently. And my kids tell me, like, they're like, I hear some frustration in your tone. Exact word. This is like a quote from them. Like, I hear some frustration in your tone. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to pause and be like, am I frustrated? I was like, oh yeah, that thing happened like 25 minutes ago, but you're still carrying it through. It's coming in my tone,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, 14, 13, and 10.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And because they've seen it, because they've been open to giving feedback,
Yeah.
they can definitely do that to me. So
Yeah.
they'll tell me to take a pause. We have this like, don't even talk. Like, yo, and I will do that when I'm like, because at this moment, if I put my mouth, things are gonna happen. And this they know is like, okay, y'all just gotta leave mom alone. Mom
Yeah.
will take her little pause. She'll come back better. And more than that, like they will say to me as well,
Yeah.
like, hey, mom, I think you need to just like kind of take a pause. And I will. So
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so cool that you're cultivating it in your family that way. And that you're like, you take it so serious, it's like, you take it so serious and honor it. You know what I mean? You give it the way that you talk about it is so honoring. I love it about just respectful of your family and that you're put into your family for a reason. It's inspiring. I love it. Makes me
yeah.
want to work on my family relationships more as well. I think that's somewhere I like get overwhelmed. Like I value my siblings so much. They all live fairly far away from me. Most of them are California. I'm in Tennessee. One of them is Alaska and one of them is in North Carolina. And we do
Okay.
communicate a lot, but it's also hard to develop those relationships. And I always go through phases where I'm closer with one than I am with the other. And then I'm like, but then I have this feeling of like, oh, I feel guilty. I haven't talked to so and so enough. And then you reach out and then you're playing phone tag. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hard. It's hard because I have 8 or 7 siblings. So trying to keep track and stay in touch is tough for sure.
Right. So let's work on that. What is one thing that you can do where you can organize and simplify the regular connection between you and your siblings?
I was thinking about that, and I was literally thinking about like scheduling sibling Zoom calls. I was actually thinking about like, hey, this is a standing meeting. Who's going to be on the meeting on like whatever, like Tuesday night at whatever time? I was seriously I'm glad you said that. I'm totally going to do that. I'm just going to create a link and be like, hey, this is when we meet every night. Like, I still want to hang out with all my siblings. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
more than that, I encourage you to not only create that link and share it, but if possible, get their phone numbers or their emails on it. So that way it's scheduled time. And one of the biggest things that I work on is like this necessity to block time out for things that matter.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put in like 2 or 3 date times and be like, hey, which of these will work? I am 1000% gonna do that, and I'm gonna let
There
you know.
you go.
Okay.
And you're gonna create that change in your family where you're like, and the most sacred thing that happens is not only this, the connection gets deeper and stronger, but you actually are now part of their lives where one of them can just say, like, I had a breakup,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
now everybody's like understands the feeling that they're going through, understands the difficulty, and they're not having 7 conversations, like saying, you know, and it's so true. Like the way our mind works is like if we're emotionally invested right now, it's like it's elevated,
Yeah.
right? So you might get the elevated version because it just happened yesterday, whereas
Yeah.
the other sibling is getting like the 1 week later version where they're like, okay, I still don't know why it happened, but I survived a week, So I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
it's such, and that's exactly, I was hoping you would say that. I was like, I'm gonna ask her what she can do. And I am so happy. And please, like, keep me posted on how that goes because I love it when families unite. It's like one of my favorite things to watch.
Yes. Okay. So, well, I mean, I guess just like I taking it on an approach and a leadership approach. I was
Yeah.
kind of answering my own question because I'm like, what's going to be the best way? And just being like going about it kind of like business, it's like you have to follow up with people like, hey, reminder, our meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Try that.
definitely. Yeah. I think it's those simple things that leave behind the biggest influences,
Yeah. Do
right?
you have
And
any like things that you would suggest, like kind of leading while we are having those conversations, or anything that you would recommend that might be really beneficial?
yeah,
Or yeah.
I'm gonna actually shift the question back over to you.
Okay.
What are some things that you think will make your strong family stronger or connected in a way where the siblings are feeling more united and feeling more like that they're heard and accepted? So what are the values that your family has instilled, kind of when you guys were growing up?
I think that we always have our backs, like we always have each other's back. And I feel like recently in the last couple of months, there are times where it felt like we didn't because we were going at each other. There were sides,
Mm.
there was division, and I want us to come back and like remember it's us first. Like we started this like kind of remembering things that we went through together, like even those funny moments and sibling jokes that we have. So maybe like it's just sparking that, being like, hey, you who has a memory that they want to share with like all the siblings, like when we were all together, like back when we were really little and like homeschooled or something. Maybe that would be
Yeah.
something.
And that's what it is, I think. Exactly what you said, spot on. I think it's really important to start things off with intentions,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And so you can even take everyone on that journey and say, like last month, we weren't our best selves. We were at each other, not with each other. And the
mhm,
thing that's led us up to this point is exactly what you said, like the fact that we had each other's back.
yeah,
And then, like, yeah, start off with like a memory, and then open the floor up, right? It doesn't have to be a very agenda based. I would do this with my sisters too. So I did that where every single Friday we had a 7 p.m. call, my time. Um, and so it was just, and my youngest will, she's so cute. She's like, wait, what's the agenda? I'm like, the agenda? And she goes, yeah, the agenda. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me think about that. And I literally sat down. I was like, well, that's what she needs. She's
mm,
an agenda. And I literally made like simple points. Like what do you want to share? What
yeah,
challenge are you going through?
yeah,
Where do you need us to support you?
yeah,
And For me, gratitude is the center of my life.
Mhm.
And I think like ending on a good note of gratitude, like what's one thing you're grateful for?
Yeah.
Or like what's one thing you can celebrate about today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll start to hear what matters to your siblings, and it's so different than what matters to me. For me, I'll be like, I celebrate that I made this bomb like dish and I tried something new and it's so good. And they're like, well, I just celebrated that I've had a constipation and I just pooped. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I love it.
Whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. That's where we're at today. I love that. I'm getting so inspired. I'm totally going to do this.
I know. I would love to be on that journey. I think it's so important to, because you start to see that this creates like a domino effect, right? And we talk about this ripple of good that you can give. And I am a firm believer of that. I think, it's the small acts of charity that we do,
Yeah.
like, which are service oriented, that give back so much to us and our families.
Yeah, I'm such a believer in like it starts with your family, everything you want to do, and like if you want to be a leader in the world, and like I'm away from like my family, but my family that I have now is like my fiance and my best
Yeah,
friends. I do those things, but I'm like I still want to be pouring into my family that I've been with for the longest. So I'm like I still want that, so I'm totally gonna do that, and I'm so excited for that.
yeah. And I'm glad you just said that because one of the most important things that I want people to recognize is family is whatever you define it to be,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Your family could be your husband and wife with your four pets,
yeah,
right? Your family could be like your three best friends because you're away or your family abandoned you or you don't know who your mom and dad are, right? I don't think family has to be defined in the way of mom, dad, and kids.
yeah.
Because once you grow up, you do want to pour into your siblings, right?
Because for me,
Just
it is
because,
just it's going to be all my siblings in that. Yeah, my
yeah,
parents are divorced, so it wouldn't make sense to have them both on the call.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited.
I love that for you too.
Yeah, I mean, and then maybe we can get you on one day. I'll be like, hey, so my friend's gonna come in and do a little something. They're gonna be like, oh gosh, Izzy, what are you what are you signing us?
It's like this family coach actually like united this family, and that's what I'm talking about. Like this simple dialogue when you said, "What would you recommend?" I don't ever want to make recommendations for your family or for
Mhm,
your life
mhm,
because what works for me may destroy you,
mhm. Yeah,
right? And I can't live with that.
yeah,
And you know what you want more than I know. And the whole
yeah,
point of coaching is this influence process where it leads to self-discovery. It
yes,
leads to the sense of higher confidence, it leads to the sense of knowing who you want to be and what you have to offer. And it's very forward thinking because right now you're planning, for probably for next Tuesday, you said, or you'll probably give them some dates and some times and see what works, but it's very future forward, right? So yeah.
yeah. I love that. I know I'm already like, ooh, gonna create a group chat. I'm gonna be like, da da da, some incentive. I don't know. I'm gonna make it fun though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and I think we do this where so for me, so the family coaching is the one-on-one. But for the group coaching, my intention is to get on the youth, and I want it to be a youth group coaching set. Yeah, so about 10 individuals who are little humans who I want them to be in a stage in their life where they're trying to figure themselves out, right? And that's like the teenage years and a little bit into their early 20s. And I think if they have the right framework, it could totally like slice off 25 years of their life of finding themselves and making mistakes just because they're following the herd, because they have developed a different sense of courage
Yeah.
than everybody else because they've gone through this program at a young age.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I want is, the whole concept of community and bond. I want the 14-year-old to be like, like I feel lonely.
Mm,
And I want the 17-year-old on that call to be like, what? I see you in school with like 10 people. And like, yeah, but none of them really know who I am.
mm,
And I want that to be like, and the 17-year-old says, I'm also lonely. Now you have a person who understands at least some part of your loneliness,
mhm.
right? And you'll create these bonds and you'll keep these people together if they serve you and if you serve them. And
Yeah.
you can spark not only conversation about friendship, but actual like the deep stuff of life where you like you say you feel lonely. Why are you lonely? Like, when my mom and dad just got divorced.
Yeah.
They say, I just lost my cat, and it's so different, but the grief is the same, right? And so I want to create this community of individuals who rise from the challenges, who feel heard, who know that there's other people going through the exact same challenges as me, because I think the world that we live in now, same thing. We're connected, but we're not like united, you know? And so I want everyone to unite and say, we all have similar human struggles, regardless of our ages.
That is exactly what I want to do with my siblings. Cause I'm like, we are in some group chats and we're kind of connected, but I want to be like, we are a force. Like, we're a force. We have each other's backs. Like, we pack it in for each other every time. And that's not this, like, I know if something really bad happened, like I could call, like we would all be there, but something that's more consistent, something that's like, oh, this is part of our lives. Like, I know every Tuesday we're having this meeting. I get to talk about da 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 da, and it's just gonna make it. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited. I love that.
It is. It's going to be profound, because then you'll start to see that maybe three of them show up in the beginning. And the one thing that I had a challenging time accepting, which I think everyone does when you start a new business, is like, don't be afraid to start small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
literally was thinking, I was like, if it's just one of them, just one of them.
there you go. It's like it's like your solo time with the sibling. But by the end of those, whatever, 20, 30, 40, whatever the time you guys decided to be, you're in such a better place, and I think then you'll start to hear, it's going to be like this beautiful thing that happens, like, wait, you talk to her, but and then you'll start to see more and more of them show up, because they're like, what are we missing out on? Like,
exactly.
Like, drop like into your group chat, like, oh my god, that thing that you said, it was hilarious, I'm gonna try that. And you're just like, in a way, it seems like you feel like you're provoking them, but you're actually just living into your truth and enjoying those and celebrating those moments.
Yeah.
And the times that they miss, hopefully the intention that they're like, oh man, I'm so sorry I have to miss it today. Yeah. I don't want to miss it, but I have to, like, and so you want to get some there.
FOMO.
Exactly, and like very like purpose-driven FOMO, good intentions. Yeah.
Exactly. What's the intention there? Exactly. Yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing about all of this. I think this is so exciting. Like, and I really love what you're doing, because like you said, I don't know of anyone else who's doing this, and I think there's a need for it. So I'm very grateful for you sharing with me and inspiring me to do this with my siblings, and then also just for doing what you're doing. It's amazing. It's good work.
Thank you so very much for having me. I think this was a pleasure. And as always, I think it's so easy to talk to you. It just be like two friends are catching up. And
I love the way that we hit it off. So thank you.
Yeah, take good care of yourself.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm already excited for the next show. Turn on notifications and be on the lookout for my next episode. Also, please share the show with anyone you feel like might benefit from listening to. Thank you for all your love and support. I will see you soon.